Bonjour, good morning, mon ami, and welcome to a journey that'll seize your soul. I'm Amy Suzanne, WDBG's CEO and your show host, as well as your personal guide du jour on North America's rising. And mon Dieu, today we're diving deep into the shadows of history to unearth the raw, unfiltered truth behind why Canada and the United States are in such a tangled mess. This isn't just a show, it's a spark to ignite your mind. A call to unravel what for so many in Canada and the United States are still the mysteries of what the primary root cause is and was, of why, how, and where we, as a North American people, got all led astray, and why our nations, North America, and our world got and ended up so damn messed up and screwed up today. So now buckle up and brace yourself for a wild ride back through time, peeling back the layers to expose the root causes of our modern chaos. Millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, and yeah, even you wise boomers, ya all need to really listen up as this tale and journey back through time is especially for ya all, as only a few born in the last 6 decades know the real history, the hidden dynamics that have knotted and rotted our nations. So, open your hearts and minds, and let's dive into and discover the real truth we're about to bear ensemble. You'll walk away seeing the world clearer and hopefully roaring to fix what's gotten broken. Merci for being here. Your presence fuels this adventure. Hit that subscribe button, ring my bell, mon chéris, and let's dive headfirst into the truth. So now, without further ado, let's roll into the heart of this here educational and totally awakening little journey we gonna ride through together this morning on North America's Rising.
Hello, North America, Americans and Canadians alike who find yourselves with me here. Some of you may not have any clue whatsoever who I am. Well, for those who don't, I'm Vinny D, the adoptive godson of the late great Lou Gordon and homeboy of the madman scribe, possibly the last great old-school real reporter and broadcast commentator left on planet Earth, Detroit's own Charlie LaDuff. Tonight, I'm putting into action what both Gordon and LaDuff taught me, as I speak mostly to you Canadians. So, ladies and gentlemen of that kingdom system up north in Canada, you sorry sacks of syrup-sucking sycophants, yeah, I'm talking to all of you in that polite, apologetic horde, but especially those gathered yesterday afternoon in Pembroke, Ontario, at that rally in the valley. There you were, sitting and listening to a few VIP speakers and all, speakers and audience alike, individually and collectively, groaning and moaning like a bunch of beavers with their tails caught in a trap. My name is Vinny D, the late great Lou Gordon's adoptive godson, pupil, and disciple, who was actually born in this frozen crown colony you call Canada, but dragged across the border to the USA, where I got educated in real freedom, not the boot-licking variety and baloney you've been suffering under for more than 3 centuries. I know both sides intimately, like a guy who's tasted Tim Hortons sludge and Starbucks Liberty Roast, and let me tell you, one of them tastes like chains, the other like choice. I've got Lou Gordon's teachings and blood-curdling voice of logic and reason pumping through my veins. Yes, sir, all that from old Lou, with quite a bit of LaDuff style thrown into my special kind of flavored mix. It's a Detroit Bulldog style of both Gordon's and LaDuff's, but still uniquely my own. A kind of style which may not be as polite as most in the media you Canadians are used to hearing, because my style was taught to me by both Gordon and LaDuff, who grilled governors, senators, and crooks on their hot seats, making them squirm and sweat like they were confessing to Satan himself in a steam room. So now that y'all know that, let's buckle yourselves up, Canucks, because I'm about to use all that there to skewer quite a few, if not all, of your sacred cows, and then roast 'em over the flames of history and serve 'em up with a side of poutine gravy laced with truth serum directed and cooked up to, and especially for you poor brainwashed, duped, and tricked Canadians. You're probably going to get mad as hell at first, but that's a good thing, that you feel that fire igniting in your flannel-covered bellies and that righteous rage bubbling up like maple sap in spring. But by the end, if you've got half a brain not pickled in politeness, you'll wake up, nod your heads in grim agreement, and say, "Damn, Vinny's right. We've been duped by the divine right dummies for far too long." Yeah, I was there at your little rally in the valley yesterday, surrounded by doctors who dared question the COVID jabs. Brave souls, I'll give 'em that, standing up to the medical mandarins and their experimental elixirs, and the freedom fighters whining about mandates, masks, and lockdowns. Sure, they're onto something with the overreach, the censorship, the forced compliance that turn neighborhoods into surveillance states. But what did I hear echoing through that crowd? Endless bellyaching about the symptoms. The government's too big. Trudeau's a tyrant. They stole our rights with those apps and arrows. Boo-hoo. Pass the tissues and the timbits. Not one of you nitwits, not a single moose-brain moaner, pointed to the root rot, the divine right disease that's been festering in your frozen souls since the day this nation was cobbled together from Loyalist leftovers. And this, folks, while you're all yapping and clapping, that Ontario flag is waving overhead like a bad joke from history's cruel comedian, with the British Union Jack slapped smugly in the corner, laughing in your faces. It's like protesting corporate greed while decked out in a Walmart uniform or fighting for workers' rights in a sweatshop tee. Hypocrites! You're out here battling for freedom under the very banner of bondage. Wake up, you lumberjack losers. That flag isn't a symbol of unity. It's a shackle disguised as heritage, a reminder that your so-called rights are on loan from a crown that never earned them. Up, you stuck-on stupid Canucks, because here's the hard truth Lou Gordon would shove down your throat without a chaser, grilling you like a suspect in the hot lights. You've been at war with the United States since 1776 and the Republic of France since 1789. Not with tanks rolling across the tundra or toques flying in the trenches. Oh no, this is a stealth war, a clash of ideas that makes your crown-loving carcasses quiver in deference. Your system, rooted in divine right, where some powdered wig parasite in a palace claims God himself handed him the throne, is the absolute antithesis of everything those revolutions ignited. And you're still loyal to it? Still flying that flag like it's a badge of honor instead of a ball and chain? No wonder you're moaning about problems instead of solving them. Your brains are pickled in politeness, your spines softened by centuries of sucking up to sovereignty from on high. Criminals in your own country, complicit cogs in a massive con where the crown's the kingpin, pulling strings from across the pond while you bow and scrape. Let's grill this like Lou Gordon cornering a corrupt Pole. Back in 1776, those American rebels, farmers with pitchforks, merchants with ledgers, philosophers with pens sharper than bayonets, told King George III to shove his divine right where the sun don't shine. They didn't just rebel against tea taxes or redcoat rudeness, they declared war on the whole rotten edifice of monarchy. Listen to this, straight from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not granted by a king on a whim, not doled out like royal favors to favored serfs, unalienable, baby. Governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, not some holy hallucination where the monarch plays God's middleman. And who inspired this? John Locke, the godfather of enlightenment, who argued that in the state of nature, humans have natural rights to life, liberty, and property, rights that predate any government, and if the rulers trample them, you overthrow the bastards. Locke said society forms to protect those rights, with government as a limited referee, not an absolute overlord. But you loyalist losers, oh, what a pathetic parade. After the American Revolution, from 1776 to 1783, tens of thousands of you hightailed it north, clutching the king's skirts like scared school kids fleeing a playground fight. These were British sympathizers, different ethnic backgrounds, sure, but united in their bootlicking loyalty. They flooded into Nova Scotia, creating New Brunswick as a separate colony in 1784 just for their sniveling selves, and settled in Ontario and Quebec too. The British government even gave them free passage and land grants, turning refugees from liberty into founders of deference. You built a nation on fleeing freedom, on rejecting the radical idea that power comes from the people up, not the crown down. War declared right there. America's Republican fire versus your servile setup. Imagine a bunch of colonists saying, "Sorry, but equality sounds scary. Can we keep our king and his divine doodads? We'll just mosey north and build igloos of obedience." Then 1789 rolls in like a guillotine blade, and the French go full fury on their monarchy. Storm the Bastille, guillotine the goons, declare liberté, égalité, fraternité. No more divine right. Sovereignty belongs to the people. Rights of man over mandates from morons and crowns. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen thunders. Men are born and remain free and equal in rights. Social distinctions may be founded only upon the general good. Jean-Jacques Rousseau fueled this fire with his social contract. The general will of the people legitimizes government, not some anointed fool. Society isn't about submitting to a Leviathan king, contra Thomas Hobbes, who argued for absolute sovereigns to prevent chaos, but even he ditched pure divine right for a contractual absolutism. The French smashed the Ancien Regime, heads rolling, literally, to birth a republic where equality trumped hierarchy. Canada, snoozing under the British blanket, content as a clam in chowder, your war with Republican France? Every time you bow to Buckingham, you're battling the Bastille's ghost, rejecting Rousseau's people-powered pact for Hobbesian hierarchy, wrapped in royal ribbons. Fast forward to the War of 1812, when the gloves really came off. The U.S. invades Canada. Why? Because you were still British pawns, impressing American sailors into the Royal Navy, harboring attacks on U.S. ships. General William Hull crosses from Detroit but surrenders early. Then the Brits and your indigenous allies like Tecumseh push back, burning the White House in 1814. But don't pat yourselves on the back too hard. We Yanks torched York, that's Toronto, in 1813, sending you scampering. That war was America screaming, "Get your monarchical mitts off our freedom." But did you learn? Hell no. You rebuilt under the Union Jack, doubling down on dumb deference. Through the 19th century, as the U.S. expanded westward on individual rights and manifest destiny, flawed, yes, but fueled by liberty, and France cycled through republics but always orbiting anti-monarchical ideals, Canada just stayed put, like a moose in headlights. The Fenian raids in 1866 to 1870, Irish Republicans from the U.S. invading Canada to strike at Britain, another ideological jab, showing the ongoing war. They crossed the Niagara River, battled at Ridgeway, but were repelled. Your Confederation in 1867? A joke. A British North America Act rubber stamped by royals in London. No real Bill of Rights, just more ties to the throne. The Statute of Westminster in 1931 finally gave you some autonomy, making dominions like Canada legally independent in most matters, but you still clung to the crown like a security blanket. Quebec's quiet revolution in the 1960s, a pale echo of 1789, secularizing, modernizing, ditching church control, but even then, you couldn't fully shake the crown. Separatists like the Parti Québécois pushed for sovereignty, holding referendums in 1980 and 1995, coming razor close at 49.4% yes in 95. But loyalty won out. Loyalty to a system that keeps you subjects, not sovereigns. You're at war with France's Republican spirit every oath you swear to the king instead of the people. of the 20th century, where you're stuck on stupid shines like a northern light. World Wars I and II. Canada fights bravely, but under the British flag as empire fodder. Conscription crises ripped you apart. 1917 and World War I, when Prime Minister Borden forced the draft, sparking riots in Quebec. 1944 and World War II, when King delayed it but still divided French and English. Quebec resisted Crown Wars, echoing 1789's anti-hierarchy fire, but the system endured. Cold War, you played peacekeeper, contributing 10% of UN forces from 1948 to 1989, more than anyone. But under NATO, led by Republican US, always the sidekick, never the sovereign. Trudeau's October crisis in 1970, FLQ separatists kidnap officials demanding Quebec independence. Trudeau invokes the War Measures Act, suspending rights, army in streets, hundreds arrested without charge, echoes of divine right suppression, top-down tyranny in peacetime. Modern scandals, SNC Lavalin in 2019, Trudeau pressures his AG to drop charges on a Quebec firm for bribery, corruption thriving in hierarchies. We Charity 2020, no bid $912 million contract to a group with family ties, nepotism under Crown cover. Contrast U.S. Watergate, system self-corrects with checks. France, Macron faces no confidence votes routinely. Era, prime exhibit dummies. Trudeau invokes Emergencies Act in 2022 for trucker convoy, freezing assets, seizing trucks, all under Crown authority, later ruled unjustified by courts in 2024. Doctors challenging vaxes, heroes, but why so easy here? Top-down system built for bending. U.S. Supreme Court blocked OSHA mandate but allowed healthcare one, balancing rights. France, yellow vests, starting 2018 over fuel taxes, evolved into anti-COVID fury, torching streets. You complied, apologized, complained later. Subject mentality, divine right DNA, indigenous horrors. Residential schools ran 150 plus years, abusing kids under Crown knows best, assimilate or die. Apologies from PMs, even Pope in 2022, but Crown endures. Economy, stagnant, overregulated. Canada lags US in innovation, productivity. Firms invest less, R&D weaker. Healthcare, wait times hit 30 weeks in 2025. Breadlines for bodies. Multicultural mosaic. Fancy for divided subjects under unelected head. Picture Trudeau in drag, apologizing. Sorry for existing, but taxes up, freedoms down, king approves. While Americans innovate, French debate, you're debating carbon taxes under Crown consent. Huawei arrests 2018, Canada nabs Meng Wanzhou on U.S. warrant, sparking China feud, pawns in Republican games. Gordon Grills, why tolerate? You're at war with 1776 individualism, 1789 equality, every flag flap. Current 2025? King Charles visited in May. Polls show 83% don't care about monarchy, per Angus Reid. Yet 1999 polls showed 55% opposed republic, but sentiment simmers. Some call it outdated. Trump's shadow looms, but inertia holds. Philosophically, Locke Rousseau versus your Hobbesian hangover. Leviathan crowned for order, but at freedom's cost. Awakening time, Canucks. Get mad at me, then the mirror. Rally doctors show fire. Ditch crown. Republic now. Petition referendum. Embrace unalienable rights. Stop branches. Chop root. Or stay stuck, moaning under Jack. But I see agreement in eyes. Revolution calls. Answer or sorry to history forever. Historical deep dives. Let's dig deeper, because you need more than a nudge. You need a sledgehammer to crack that ice of ignorance. Picture the Loyalist migration, 1776 to 1783. Families like the Butlers from New York, fleeing Philadelphia's revolutionary fervor for the wilderness of Upper Canada. John Butler, a Loyalist leader, forms Butler's Rangers, harassing the rebels, then settles in Niagara with land grants from the Crown. They weren't just escaping war, they were rejecting liberty for loyalty, planting the seeds of your servile state. By 1784, 46,000 Loyalists had flooded Nova Scotia and Quebec, reshaping your destiny with deference. Their descendants, your elites, still genuflecting to the ghost of George III. War 1812, let's get specific. Battle of Lundy's Lane, 1814, near Niagara, one of the bloodiest. Americans under Winfield Scott face British and Canadian militia. It's a draw, but the U.S. retreats, and you claim victory. Why? Because you were fighting for the crown, not yourselves. Tecumseh's death in 1813 at Moraviantown, a blow to indigenous resistance, but also to your autonomy. Your allies died for British interests, not Canadian ones. Fenian raids, 1866. Irish-American Fenians, fresh from Civil War training, hit Campobello Island and Ridgeway. At Ridgeway, they beat Canadian militia before withdrawing. Their goal? Pressure Britain to free Ireland. Your response? Panic, then Confederation in 67 to tighten Crown control. Another jab in the ideological war. Republicans versus your Royalists. 20th century flashpoints. Crises 1917, Quebec riots against Borden's draft. French Canadians saw it as English crown oppression. Easter 1918, troops fire on protesters in Quebec City, killing 4. World War II 1944, King delays conscription to avoid another split, but 12,000 draftees go AWOL. Quebec's anti-crown pulse beats strong, but the system held. October crisis 1970, FLQ kidnaps James Cross and Pierre Laporte. Trudeau's War Measures Act, 5,000 troops, 497 arrested, no charges for most. Laporte's murder shocks, but Trudeau's overreach, pure divine right. Crushing dissent like a king quelling peasants. COVID and modern failures. Freedom Convoy, 2022. Truckers clog Ottawa, protesting vaccine mandates. Trudeau's Emergencies Act freezes $8 million in assets, arrests 200. Federal court in 2024 says it violated charter rights. Why so easy? Crown system enables top-down tyranny. Contrast U.S. OSHA mandate blocked January 2022, but healthcare worker mandate upheld. Courts balancing individual rights. France, Yellow Vests, 2018 to 2022, evolve into anti-mandate riots. 11,000 arrested, but no national emergency law. Indigenous tragedy. Residential schools, 1831 to 1996, 150,000 kids abused under Crown policy. Kamloops, 2021, 215 unmarked graves falsely claimed to be found. Apologies from Trudeau Pope, but no systemic change and not one actual Indigenous grave yet found. Crown still head. Economy. Canada's GDP per capita in 2025, $44,846 USD versus US $89,110. R&D spending, 1.6% of GDP versus US 3.6%. Healthcare, median wait for non-emergency specialist care, 30 weeks in 2025, world's worst among developed nations. Now for a few Andy Lee-style satirical thoughts. Imagine a Canadian at the Bastille, 1789. Sorry, folks, but this guillotine's too rude. Can we petition the king nicely instead? Or Trudeau at a G7 summit in drag, curtsying, sorry, world, but our carbon tax is crown approved. Mind if we tax your air next? Philosophical dual picture Locke, debating Hobbes on your tundra. Locke says, natural rights, life, liberty, property, precede government. If it fails, revolt. Hobbes counters, without a strong sovereign, chaos reigns. Order trumps liberty. You chose Hobbes Canada, chaining yourselves to a Leviathan crown for stability, sacrificing freedom. Rousseau chimes in, general will of the people, not a king, makes legitimacy. Your reply, sorry, but the king's our tradition. Current pulse. Posts in 2025. Canadians grumble about King Charles's visit. 83% don't care about monarchy, per Angus Reid. Yet 1999 polls showed 55% against a republic. Sentiment shifts. Posts call monarchy archaic, but inertia rules. Trump's influence? Some ex-chatter wants a Canadian MAGA, but Crown loyalty lingers like a bad habit. Call to action. You've got fire. Those rally doctors prove it. Start petitions. Demand a republic referendum. Lobby MPs. End royal assent. Draft a constitution with unalienable rights, no notwithstanding clause. Organize protests, not polite ones. Channel 1789. Burn the Union Jack metaphorically. Fly a flag of freedom. Final fire. Get mad, Canucks. Mad at me? Then the mirror. You're at war with 1776's individualism, 1789's equality. Every day you tolerate that flag. Your doctors, your truckers, their sparks. Fan 'em into flames. Ditch the crown. Join the winners of history. Or stay stuck, moaning under the jack, apologizing to eternity. I see agreement in your eyes. Revolution calls. Answer it or keep saying sorry to your kids' kids. But most of all, if you value real liberty, rights, and freedoms, realize you've been fighting for the wrong side in a war between crown divine right and citizen rule since 1776, and that crown divine right could give a damn or flying fuck about you.